Alright then. Hello, I'm Andreas and this is my hand in number 2 in image processing, and I'm going to present you for 49 different filters in this time, even though the assignment only say 45, but that doesn't matter. I got some in spare, even seeing that some of the filters aren't quite that good, but we'll see. Of course, we've got another one, doesn't count, mirror, doesn't count, inverted, counts. Got some brightness, and the opposite of that is simple darkness, and we got simple contrast, and got logarithmic image filter for it, and exponential image filter, gamma correction, supposed to be salt and pepper noise, and alpha blend, even though we don't have anything to blend with, but it is blended down. It is alpha is put a little down, so it's ready to be blended with something. Yeah, and convert RGB to grayscale. Voila! And we got convert grayscale to binary image. It's kind of doable. And we got the okay, so we got RGB to normalized RGB here. Yeah, that's what I got. RGB to HSB, hue, saturation, and brightness. And we got a arc cosine image filter. And decrease of color depths. See, it's kind of decreased to around 4 bits. I've set it to, and hue shift. Hue shift, and we got saturation change, and we got sepia filter, and we got some pastels. It's based on the hue, saturation, and brightness, and yeah, that's why the colors are so. And I suppose they have pastel colors, and got pink color detection. See, it's pink. Yep. It's supposed to be a little better, but it's on its way. Cool. Next up is a mean filter 3.3, and we got the mean disk here, 7x7, and Gaussian blur, Gaussian edge, and sober privet. It isn't that much different, but they are still. And media, and this might take a little while before it comes. Computer needs to calculate it, take every single piece into account, take the kernel, yada. Here we have it. The median, the middle value of the kernel going through each pixel. And now for the maximum value of it, the picture should be a little brighter, and still the kernel move through all the pixels, find the maximum value of it, of all 9, and voila. And let's take the median value of those and put it inside the picture instead. Yeah, here it comes. Ta-da! Little darker. And that was about it for those embos. Get it? A little tired maybe. Gaussian noise, or noisy. Diffuse. Vertical edge detection. That's horizontal. Only bit. There's one slightly horizontal up there, but still a little vertical. And I also got move further to morphological. We got a dilation, compared to the original binary image. What's that? Dilation. For sure. Erosion. Closing. And last, opening. Cool. And boundary detection. How nice it is. Yeah. And now for some small stuff. So we got this eroded picture here. We will fire it, grass fire, kill for fire, and find the areas. Yay, we got 2 blobs. Woohoo! Yay! And what do we else got? We got the bounding box around them. That's the red one. Yeah, that's boxes. Although they're kind of small amount of pixel anyway. So let me turn my face in. Grass fire! Ah! Look at me. And see, now we got a big chunk of pixels here. Look at got a boundary box around me now. That's nice. And what else can we go here? We got the bounding box ratio. Look at here. So let's see my head. It's got okay, so it's a little longer than this width. What can I see? Because the number is bigger than 1. If it's equal to 1, they are equal width and height, and if it is smaller than 1, it's simply more width than height. That's it. So let's check for the compactness. That was D. Da-da. So it's me, number 2 here. It's nearly 1. If it's 1, it's totally compact. It fits with the box. But there's certain holes here, and it didn't fit the box fully out. So it's not totally equals to 1. That's cool. So, got the parameter. Bam. And you see that the 4th one must be my head again. Yeah, because that's the biggest one. And now for the circularity. Wait for it. So now much better. Now we come to a conclusion where you can see circularity matches the area of number 3. That must be my head here. And the boundary around it, 208 pixels around. Yep. And resize. Yay, we resized. We turn around, we rotate ourselves. This nice rotated picture. Crop it. And riddle time. Inverted. The only thing that's really come into mind here that is interesting is 255 that is subtracted by the pixel value. So thereby we got this evil looking image, whitish. Yeah, we call it. Let's invert it. And I know the mirror isn't that important, seeing that it is not a list, but still, the thing that's done here is that the x value is minused instead of plussed, and thereby we're mirroring the image. Simple as that. Simple brightness. Here we just take a look at the pixel. Okay, which kind of value do you got? And if you are below 225, you're plus by 30. But if you're above, you are just equal to 255. So we avoid pixel errors, which will give us some psychedelic, weird colors. And the opposite goes around with a simple darkness here. Just say if you are above 30, you can be subtracted by 30. Your little pixel here. And if you are below 30, you just set to 0. Else, yeah, we'll yet again got some psychedelic weird colors. Cool. And in simple contrast, we're simply just mixing those two here into one, where we take the approximate middle value of 227, and if your symbol below this point or equal to, you will be subtracted by 20. But if you're higher than or equal to 28, you'll be added 20. And simply just as in the beginning. If you are above 235, you'll be equal to 255. We avoid weird pixels. And I can see we missed this part of it, but as shown in the contrast filter, it really didn't matter that much. Yeah. Logarithmic image filter. It's a little more complicated than the previous one. We take a logarithmic constant, which we have defined up here. Logarithmic constant, which just take the logarithm to 1 plus 255 and divide it all by 255. That is the logarithmic constant we're using. Get back to the filter. Yeah, here we are. And we take this constant multiplied by a logarithm to our pixel value plus 1. This gives us this very bright image, as we saw. And opposed to that, we got the exponential filter, which gives us a darker image, or simply just enhance the darkness compared to the logarithmic image filter, which enhance the bright colors. The exponential constant we also got here up here, and exponential factors. Let's look at those two fellas. Exponential constant here is 225 divided by the power EFAC power 1.01. Take to the power of 225 and minus all this by 1, and this number is then divided by 255. Simply. And back to filter. Here we are again. So this constant, we are multiplying that with the power of our 1.01, which is taken to the power of the pixel value minus 1. Fuck you, let's go back. Yeah. Simple as that. And thereby we're given this darker image. And the gamma correction, which didn't really seem to work that well, but it kind of shows how it should work. So taking the power of pixel value to 2.22, which should have given us a slightly darker image, but it was more like somewhere it was slightly darker, somewhere it was more bright, and this whole number is divided by 255. And simply just to ensure we don't got weird little pixels which is above the level of 255, we simply just asked if we got a pixel above this, and if we got, then just a 255, else just print out whatever you got. See if it works. Cool. Salt and pepper noise. Plenty of filters yet to go. Salt and pepper noise. So here we just take our output as normal, and we put in a random number to the modules of hundreds, so we can get a random number between 0 and 100. 0 and 99 for to be precise. And if that number is below 4, and if that's a number modulus to 2, so it can be either 0 or 1, got a 50% chance for it to be that, then it will be set to 255, which being white if it was grayscale, or in this case, not colored image, should be a bright red, green, or blue dot of noise. It'll just set to black. So, and the alpha blend is also quite simple, and we just take our pixel value and multiply by 0.5. That's give us the half of the alpha which the image has started with. So if we take another one which got the half of the alpha and put it upon it, we get 50-50 of both of them, and we have this blended image. Something. Convert from RGB to grayscale. Yeah, that's also quite straightforward here. Take each one of the color channels, add them together, divide by 3, put it inside our grayscale container here, and voila, we got a grayscale image. Similar as that. And the way we create a binary image from this grayscale is also quite straightforward. We simply just take the pixel value and ask, are you smaller than 227? If yes, we use it to 0. If you're bigger than, use it to 255. And thereby we're just cutting the colors into 2 sections, one being black, one being white. In this case, it is the colors, the grayscale. Simply just make it a binary image, or putting the color depth to 1 bit. Simply converting RGB to normalized RGB. We divided the color channels into red, green, and blue. Each one of them have their respectively color channel here, and every one of them is take that channel divided by all the channels added together, and in the end it is multiplied by 255, and then puts in here in our video output in their respective channels. So yeah, next, convert RGB to HSB, or hue, saturation, and brightness. And here we take the whole manual way, no built-in function used here. We will just take the whole calculation and use it for giving us hue, saturation, and brightness. And I checked with the built-in function, and it gave us the exact same result, so it seems to work in this case here. And then we put inside each one of the channels hue, saturation, and brightness. The Arcos image filter, so I'm just taking the arc cosine to the whole to the pixel here, and simply just multiply it by 1 and multiply it by 255. The one here is because the arc cosine will only work with doubles, and this is a way we can create a double without affecting the number inside here in our pixel. Decrease color depth. Simply making this a more like 2-bit. Yeah, a 2-bit image here, because we set 4 different values, and with 4 different values going here, and firstly we check if they are in the bottom fourth of the pixel value. If it is so, we set it to 0. If it's between the quarter of 255 and the half of it, we take it to the next step, which is the third of 255, and we take the half of it and to check if it's between the half amount of pixel value, which being 127.5, and see if it's bigger than that but yet smaller than 3/4 of 255. It is so. It is 2/3 of 255, and if it's simply above the 3/4 of 255, we'll get the biggest value they can be given, 255, and then we simply just put the value inside our container, and voila, we got a lower color depth. Hue shift. Simply the only thing that's been done here besides our home created hue saturation and brightness, if we take the hue and plus equal this to 60 and simply check if it's above 360, so we just take it to 360 instead, and thereby we get this more reddish output as we saw. That's cool. Saturation change. Still the same function here, and then we subtract our saturation with 15, which gave us this aggressive green color. And I suppose that's a way to change the saturation. Couldn't really figure out anything else. That's cool. Save here. Just taking for each one of the color channels and multiplied with a certain factor, which are to be found in the way Savior is created. And if the certain color is above 255, it says to 255, and that's simply about it. And of course, each one of the channels includes each one of the different colors multiplied by the different factor, which gave us those brownish colors. And the pastel, here we have the same hue, saturation, and brightness function here, and we simply just before we put in the saturation, we check if it is between 15 and 50. If it is so, we can put it in, and thereby, in theory, we'll be given all the colors that are quite bright, and no, they are not very saturated, which means they are such a grayish, and give us those called baby colors, but they're definitely not saturated at all. And the brightness will look through the pixel to see if it's between 200 and 255. It is so. Get this bright pixels inside. This non very saturated bright pixels to give us those pastel colors it's supposed to be. And the pink color detection. Well, I have tried with my own here to see if it could find the pink one, but I couldn't really figure out how to use those. So I have sinned. Sinned, I say. Use the built-in function, get hue, saturation, and brightness, because I could work around with that, and I know how that worked in relation to finding colors. So those gave us hue, saturation, and brightness values. I think I've seen looked inside the function before, and it looks nearly similar as this is built up, but in another way. But yeah, it seems like the hue of pink is between 230 and 210, and the saturation for this one being 50 to 100, and the brightness being from 150 to 150. I could have sent 155, but then we will also get more white noise with us. And then we just take this whole result and put inside each one of the channels, so we get this nice binary color. No, that is not done by that. It's simply done by the if sentence. We say if the color is within this range, 255, and if it's not, send a 0, and thereby we can set inside each one of the channels this binary result. Simply as it is. And for the mean, 5 times for loop, and we have the sum here, our little fellow, which contains the number we've been given by the pixel, which is multiplied by the kernel, this little fellow, being, we said it all to 1 divided by 9. So it takes all the 9 pixels and divide each one of them, each one of the values by 9. And thereby we get this blurred image. Main disk being a 7.7, and function the same way, and it's a disk. We're gonna look at that a little in a moment, but first we just tell that we also got this situation that many of the pixels can be above 255, so thereby if it is the case we put 255. We have this disk here which is 7.7, and the why it is called is a disk shape because the corners here are rounded by zeros, which means it doesn't really affect the picture at all, but only all the numbers inside it, which being 1 divided by 38, which is the amount of pixels we are taking into consideration here. So each one of them. So the pixel we're looking at will get a value compare value, yeah, that is composed by each one of those 38 pixels being inside the disk. Gaussian blur. Gaussian blur does the same. The Gaussian kernel just a little more funny here, because it gives us a lot more blurry image. So we can see as closer we come to the middle, the higher is the value of the filter. So thereby it takes more into account the pixels closer to the middle of it, thereby close to the pixel we're looking at, than opposed to all these pixels out on the side here. They're not taking that much into consideration, but they're still affecting the picture in some way. And then we take all the values, add them together, and which in this case is 140, and divide all the numbers by that. Thereby we be given that nice blurred image. I don't want to jump back because that's just nearly the same code we'll find further down. Gaussian edge, which here is quite simple indeed, and the way it is simple, which I've taken the Gaussian mean filter, the mean kernel, and by the way that I know that edge detection, which I think is the case here, is supposed to be, seeing that it's called Gaussian edge, is that we need to have a positive and a negative side of it, and a neutral side, which is supposed to be in the middle, either vertically or horizontally, just to be the vertical area here, all those being 0, so we're gonna find vertical lines throughout the picture, and put negative values on the left side and positive on the right side, and thereby will be given edges. Simple as that. So I will state for 7.7 kernels. Let's move further to Sobel, which also takes the picture through by the help of a kernel. Sobel, there are you. Well, in some way it reminds me of the Gaussian, seeing that it has bigger values in the middle compared to the side. Still, it isn't big enough to be a Gaussian. But it seems like it finds the edges in a stronger way by doing this compared to that of privet, which is the function afterwards, which only have once either being negative or positive on each of the sides. Being median filter also depending on kernel, which is just a kernel of once. 9 ones in a row, so it doesn't really affect the picture that much. The only thing that affects the picture is that we want to find the median, being the middle value, so therefore we are putting all the values of which is inside the this kernel here, being this 3.3 kernel, which is inside this vector called R for array. Put it inside this selection sort function. Let me jump down to that. Whee, shoo. Here we are, which is simply just doing the selection sort with this vector. First of all, setting the value of the smallest being I, which in this first case being 0. So 0 is the smallest one. Smallest value being 0. Now we take a little bit, put inside a next for loop, and see if index 0, which is R, is bigger than J, which in this case is I plus 1, so it must be index 1. Other 0 bigger than 1. And if 0 is bigger than, if index 0 is bigger than index 1, it's simple that in the numbered index 1 will be at an index 0 now. Until the alpha. After that, we simply swap. We take this I swap, also called temp, as temporary value, and we take the smallest index here, and we take I, put it inside, set it equals to the smallest value, and we take our temporary value and put it inside I. So thereby those two values are swapped around. So we do the same thing in the max. We're just taking the biggest value in the vector and put it inside our pixel, and put it inside our output. In the minimum, we take the first value, being the smallest, put it inside the output. Embos. We got an embos kernel. Look at him. He's diagonal with zeros instead of vertical or horizontal, which gave us those enhanced borders and more 3D-ish effects of it. And we continue with the Gaussian noise. We'll simply take the fundamental of the salt and pepper noise here of the random numbers, our kernel here, our Gaussian kernel. Nope. We just put in the value of the pixel multiplied by the Gaussian kernel here. Else we just have our normal pixel. So thereby we got spot-wise the Gaussian noise in there. Diffusion. We of course got a diffusion kernel for this one. So the diffusion is being a diagonal line of ones divided by the amount of ones there are, in this case 3. This way giving us a diffuse picture. Simple as that. Vertical excitation being finding all the edges which are vertical. With a symbol, I took a Soul kernel and put all zeros in the vertical line, so the threshold a bit up, so we are sure that we only got those lines we wish to see, and those are then so to be set to 255, and all the others which isn't a part of the line, the edges being 0. Cool stat. Oh, for the dilation. A little tricky here. So we start by just taking the null pixel, grayscale it, put it in a binary image, and with this binary image we put it inside a kernel. So we put it inside a not really a kernel, but we put it inside. Look at the 9 pixels around our pixel being x and y, and divide by 255. So thereby, if just at least one of those pixels are white one, will be given 1, and if we got 9 white pixel would be given 9. Simple as that. So then we ask for if the sum of this one is above 2, equals or above 2. We set our kernel pixel we're looking at to 255, and if not, we're setting our current pixel to 0. That could be called a, so we just hit a pixel being hit 2 pixels here, in this case being white, and thereby we can call the pixel we're looking at white. And another but yet a little similar thing is going on in the erosion. Got the same steps down to here, where we see, okay, it's the whole, all of them are those white, all of them being 9. Yes, good. Then put this pixel to 255. It's nuts. It's just some of them are being white, and we then miss 2 of them, and put this one to 0 again. So we're simply eroding the picture, creating less white. And the closing, we are first of all dilating, creating more white, then we are eroding it afterwards. And the opposite goes around in the opening. First of all erosion, then dilating. And for the boundary detection, which come here, we take the eroded picture here, and we take our rough binary input, which haven't been eroded, dilated, or anything. Take this one and subtract it by our dilated picture, and then we found boundaries around our contours. So, Crashfire time. Here we take our eroded picture and we simply say, okay, every time you find a pixel being totally white, you multiply the label counter by 20 and you start a Crashfire upon it and put on label counter, which also functions as a color indicator, so we can see with our eyes which one of those are the contour we're looking at. Crashfire, here you are. Cool. So yeah, as stated, the pixel we are looking at will be labeled with this certain color, and then we check if some of the neighboring pixels being white, either to right, down, left, or up. That was the Crashfire here. So the next thing we do is going to find the area of those blocks. Simply just calculating how big are you, my little friend. That's not quite hard to do, because we know in fact which values our pixel have, and being from 230 down to 10, which is still visible for us. We're gonna of course go further down with minus numbers, but that will not be necessary because we can't see the blobs anyways. And of course the computer will be able to see it, but right now it is unnecessary for us to know. I could have continued in infinity downwards by subtracting by 20, but I didn't. Simple as that. So every time we meet a pixel being in of the Crashfire, check for the area of the Crashfire. We check the pixel. We check the picture once again. If any one of the pixel one pixel in the picture have been changed to any one of those values here, if so, we are adding 1 to our area in integers. So this one will just be added up with as much pixels in the picture being in the right color, or grayscale color, if so. It's more correct. And now we got the area of them. And it's time to find the bounding box. And it's also going on here, down here. Another thing that is done further here is that we'll put inside 2 vectors, each one of them concentrating on the x and y pixel, and so we just put in the value of those inside the vector. So vectors will be filled up with different values. But of course all those pixels will be in the same clutter in each one of the vectors. So we can use that to create a box around our contour. And if we look at simple box calculation up here, bounding box here, yeah, then we simply take our x and y vectors, we sort them out, so we got them from the smallest to highest value. They're easy to grab around and do stuff with them. But these are the off rectangles, so we create a nice rectangle around our contours. and the top point pixel being the index 0, being the first pixel we met during the grass fire. That's pretty logic. And we take the width and the height of the rectangle, which just logic mathematical calculation, being the highest value of x minus by the smallest value. We got the width, and do the same with the y, and then we got the height. Simple as that. And the next one is the bounding box ratio. And the only thing that's been added to this one is the ratio. The ratio variable, which simply checks if the height of the box is bigger than the width of it, and then we get a number here. So if the height is bigger than the width of our bounding box, or clutter is it in fact contour, then we will get a value above 1. If they are equal, we get a value being 1. If the width is bigger than the height, we will get a value being smaller than 1. That's simply it. The only thing added down here to it is just the fact that we want it to show us some more numbers. So in fact, this whole thing here, we just put it inside a function, but it's silly me just filling up space and lines of code. And also, oh yeah, and also we set all those ratio variables to 0 every time we start again, so it wouldn't count up, but being the actual number we're looking at in the picture. Being the actual number corresponding to the contrast we're looking at in the picture. So that's just nice. Next one, compactness. Doing the same here, taking inside some variables which is taking care of the compactness of the contours. And the way that does function, it simply checks the size of the contour, the area of it, compared to the area the boundary box, and by that simply checking if it's compact. So the more black there is within the bounding box, the less compact is it. So we can see a hand with spread out fingers will not be that compact compared to fists, which have all the fingers clubbed together and no holes, and can be formed into a moist grayish position. So the amount of black will be less, very much less. That's kind of cool. And the next one is center of mass. Mass beat. No, not it. Well, what is simply done here is the same down in the key function, but we're just setting this one to true, so we need a new key for that. And yet again, I could have done it in the function, but I did. Cool. But center of mass. We need to create some visible on our image which are showing us a center of mass. I don't want it to be just a number. The number wouldn't say much regarding coordinates. So we take for the C and for the Y. We first of all put inside in each one of the for loops, which runs through the whole X and Y coordinates inside those vectors, and add them to C, X and Y integers, and those integers are then equal to themselves divided by the amount of pixels there inside each amount of coordinates there inside those X and Y vectors. Thereby we got the center of mass, which are shown by the small red circle inside the contour. And that's it for that. The next little fellow, circularity. He was a little tricky one, because he was a little tricky one to get shown so it matches the values we got. And so we'll take the perimeter area and divide by 2 square root 2 pi multiplied by the area of the contour. Thereby we can see how close our contour is to being a circle. That's simply how that works for that. Of course, and in the perimeter we are not looking at the eroded output anymore, we're looking at the boundary output. This one gives us the opportunity to look at the boundaries around the contours and calculate the area of those and the amount of pixels being in the perimeter. And then we can use that to find the circularity. It was quite nice. So that was it for the blob analysis. And we'll look at the resize. It's getting simpler again. And we take the X and Y position here and divide by 2, and this gave us this picture where it seems like everything is enlarged, and we can see that the real camera output should be this big, but we were only shown this one because that's the only amount of pixel we have been allocated to be shown. So therefore everything was very big inside this little window. And a little rotation here, being y equals to x multiplied by sine plus y multiplied by cosine, and the x here is x multiplied by cosine minus y multiplied by sine. Those values are put inside the pixel values, and thereby the picture is rotated. This was only supposed to be rotated 90 degrees, but it seems it was rotated way more than 90 degrees. Crop was very easy to do. Just look at the amount of pixels we are looking through in both the height and width, and divided those with 2. Thereby we only got the corner of our window to be activated, now the others just being still. So we cropped it down to that little window. And for the ripple, it's going in sideways, and it takes is x and y values respectively in the x and y, and add it to the amplitude of the sine wave, which is quite big in the x and a little fellow in the y, multiplied by sine going inside the sine. This takes y and x, on the opposite y and x, multiplied by 2, which is multiplied by pi, and all is divided by the frequency, which is 20 in both of them. And then we take the final value here and put it inside the pixel container and output it, and voila, we got that ripple effects going on. Quite nice. So I don't think I have many more things to tell here. That was kind of it. Oh, Raspberry check. Yeah. So that was my filters. Good night.